Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I've got my new Experience Life T-shirt on from Church of the Coast. Well, that's a St. Petersburg church startup
Okay.
they're doing. And so today, um, Lexi actually asked if she could get some childhood stories. So
Oh, golly.
I've been thinking, do you remember any childhood stories from your husband's life? Like any little things that he told?
Oh,
And if you don't, that's
I'm
okay.
trying to think. Not a great deal. Um, the only things he ever told me about was the trouble he got into.
Well, that's good. Getting into trouble is a good storytelling
Oh,
part of life.
yeah,
Sometimes you
the
learn
time,
more from getting in
yeah,
trouble than you do from
the
easy
time he
stuff.
took a candy bar from the store and his mother made him take it back to the store, pay for it, and give it back too. So, how she always seemed to know what they were doing. Didn't matter. He'd get home and find she'd already knew what he had done. How there was a quarry they used to go swimming in. Things of that sort. But there really wasn't an awful lot, that he talked about. One of the things he talked about was getting on his bike and hitching onto the back of a milk truck and going for a ride. Little stunts that could have got him in hurt and in a lot of trouble, but typical boyish things, but nothing outstanding really.
Now let's rewind for a
I
second.
tell you,
He's
let me tell you one funny thing he talked
okay.
about. Okay, he had a sister like 4 years older than him, and she came home one day or something and had a new bra she was going to try and show her mother. And they asked him to leave the room, and he wouldn't. So she stood there and stripped and put on her new bra anyway. So they were not a very modest family, as I found out the first time I visited there. And his mother comes walking out in the dining room where the only phone was at that time, in her little shorty pajamas that were kind of see-through. So that was my first experience with, okay, I mean,
uh,
uh, the older granddaughters probably remember. Lexi would not, but the fact that the pool in his backyard, he liked to go skinny dipping. That was my husband's father. Okay, and so when we would take Julie and Brittany over to go swimming, he'd have to go and check and make sure his dad was dressed before he took them in. So, Linda can tell you some tales about him too, and how he liked to do. But he was he was very laid back, and I guess that's why my husband knows he was more like his dad. His mother was one of these very uptight ones. Everything had to be just so. You could be in the middle of playing a game or whatever, but if she was ready to do something else, pick it up and put it away. Don't give you any time to finish or whatever. It had to be just right. Told stories of how when he and his younger sister, they were only like a year and a half apart or so, and how she would take the two of them, put them in a little harness thing, tie them to the clothesline outside so they could run around and play while she cleaned house, because the clean house was the most important thing to her. Everything had to be just right. So,
hmm.
yeah, and yeah, my children could tell you tales about that. And I think their worst experience with her was we were there and the kids had been watching a movie and it was like 15, 20 minutes before the movie was over. But she said dinner was ready. Come to the table now. And when they didn't come immediately, she went and turned off the TV, which really upset everybody at the entire table. But that was just her. She had to do things her way and her time, and it had to be just so. And, so that's the biggest thing I think that she and I didn't agree on. I mean, my husband come home, the floor hadn't been mopped, so what? The kids were on the floor playing all afternoon. I was playing with them, reading to them, having fun with my children rather than worrying about whether everything was picked up, when you walked in the door. You know.
Hmm.
Now, Lexi and Rachel, though, had a dad that when he walked in, if he saw a toy in the middle of the floor, he would just freak out. He like he had a mother who was uh, very much like my mother-in-law. Everything just right in its place, whatever, and anything other than that was not acceptable. So, but I come from a family we didn't have very much anyhow. There wasn't much to be laying out the floor to start with, and we took care of what we had, but we just didn't have very much at all.
Well, that's the great thing about the Holy Spirit, because He shows you the fine line between proper order and just caring for human beings who kind of tend to be,
Yeah.
you know, unusual. And I always like to say, when God puts wildflowers in a field, he doesn't put them in orderly rows.
Yeah.
And they're not all the same height and size. They're just kind of...
You can look over here and see the fact that I don't get too uptight about things on there because there's somebody's name written over there.
What?
Yeah. You know. Well, here, hang on a second. Okay.
There's somebody's name?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, I can't. Let me see where it is now.
There's a little table over here
Yeah,
under
okay.
the TV.
Some of it is, you can hardly read anymore. It's going to kind of mess up, but it's quite scratched up. It's a very nice little piece of furniture, but it got kind of scratched up, messed up, you know, whatever. And, you know, I don't really worry about things. That's not my deal. You know, I'd rather see a little dust on the furniture than have the kids afraid to, you know, play and have fun. So
Okay.
that's just the difference. And I feel like I'm going to sneeze. The doggies.
Okay, it's puppy interlude. We're going to take a pause.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.